The whole idea of this piece and the collaboration happened through Vlad, who is one of my students, composition students. So he's a fabulous composer as well as a violinist. And I wrote some violin and piano pieces for him, and he said he'd really love to work on something bigger. I mean, not a concerto as such, but something that involved ensemble. And then he knew about the new European Ensemble and had worked with him, I think, on some projects, and so he proposed that. So that's how it happened, really, and so it just grew from there. Yeah, it's called Romanian Rhapsody, and it's got nothing to do with Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. It's a slight tongue-in-cheek because Vlad is a big fan of Queen. I'm not a big fan of Queen, but I was very aware of this group that he loved. So it's a slightly sort of nod towards Bohemian Rhapsody, although there's no quotes. I don't quote anything from Bohemian Rhapsody, but so it was a sort of. It's not a jokey piece. It's a very lyrical piece. It's very. It's very tonal. For me, it's one of the most tonal things I've ever done. It's almost filmic. It's great this group exists because I know a lot of groups are just not. They're just folding. The money's not for them, and so it's fantastic they're still around because it worries me that there's less opportunities, especially for younger composers, to write for ensembles, and they're really good.
It's a pleasure to work closely with a living composer, especially one who's so well established and wrote so many interesting and controversial pieces. And basically what it's like is then you prepare something, you work with a score, you rehearse together, and then the composer sits there and you play for them, and it's a very special experience because there's a kind of origin of the music. The originator, the person who came up with those musical ideas, is sitting there listening to you, and you're starting a dialogue sort of about in what sense does it make sense what they've written in the score, and what might you have to change, or how is the atmosphere you're creating coincide with their ideas about it, and do you convince them with your performance? So it's a really fantastic thing to have a chance to work with a living composer always.
What's really nice is that when the first rehearsal happened, which was not that long, only a few hours ago, I didn't have to say much because although they haven't played any of my music before, as far as I know, there was a sort of they got it straight away, and that doesn't always happen. You have to do a lot of explaining. So it was very sympathetic from the word go. It's not a scary piece. It's very lyrical, quite sad, I suppose, quite a melancholic piece. I'm not sure why that happened, but I don't like giving too much away. But then again, it's really just one 12-minute movement, which is just a sort of. It is rhapsodic, but it's also quite elegiac. The violin part is not particularly virtuosic. It's not like a really flashy violin part. It's just the violin soars above quite a lyrical ensemble. So that's all I want to say, really. The three words I would say is would be melancholic, lyrical, and just a bit wistful. It's not very. It's quite sort of distant in a way. It's strange. As I said, I never really written a piece like this before, so it's quite scary for me because it's quite. I wouldn't say it's emotional, but it's not tough. So funny enough, certain audience members will like it because it's not hitting you in the face. It's not like the old Dutch school, which is music I love, like Louis Andriessen. I mean, those guys really won't like this piece, so I'm a bit scared if they're going to turn up the concerts.
Well, this Romanian Rhapsody is actually it's quite a beautiful piece, very delicate and melodic and wonderful to listen to.